What's up, dudes? Welcome back to another episode of Ramas Men's Team. Pretty simple. We are a group of guys helping each other make progress towards each other's goals. If you're new to the channel, awesome and welcome. If you want to help support the channel and join our pro team, head over to ramasteam.com/pro, where you can contribute to us on a donation basis. We also give you access to exclusive content, mastermind groups, etc., etc. So anyway, hope you enjoy this episode, and we'll see you on the team.
We are live. What up, Wes?
What's up, brother?
This is a rare treat, or I should say a surprise treat. I thought I was going to go to a funeral today, but last night I got feverish. And it was crazy, out of the blue. Got a fever. Woke up today, I feel pretty good, so.
Yeah, I got a little sick too, which I fucking hate. Yeah, dude. I didn't get sick for like a full year straight, and I normally get sick like 4 or 5 times a year. It's always from lack of sleep. And this time, and when I got sick around Christmas time, was the same deal, just lack of sleep.
Yeah, I rarely get sick myself. I think this is just my theory. I think my body's still just like flushing shit out of itself. Or I did stay up late to record a podcast, so could have been that. But it was weird, dude. It was just like 101 degree fever for like just a day. And then more so, not even just half the day. Towards like the evening, I got like freezing, and I was like, what the fuck? And then I like bundled up. It was like sweatpants, hoodie, jacket, and I was down the basement working. I'm like, I was looking around, like, anything else cold? Like, but yeah, I just laid there last night, burned it out, and felt pretty good. So I'm gonna chill today. I'm gonna chill. I was like, nice, I can do this, do a little writing, but I'll definitely get some sleep and relax again today.
Oh yeah, dude, need to. Yeah, so I went to a restaurant last night. That is one of the things that I've outsourced. I don't like I think I told the guys not too long ago, when you're at when you start to like get to the next level or whatever you want to call it, if you want to increase your productivity, start to outsource more things that are not in your money zone. Like I call them money activities now, man activities. So most people think it's like, oh, I'll start to outsource the admin of my office or something like that. I prefer to outsource the other areas of my life that are non-business related first, because does that make sense?
Yeah.
I'd rather take care of I'd rather take care of the business stuff and then eventually outsource more of that. I think it's more risky doing that than outsourcing your meals, for instance. So anyway,
that makes sense.
I pretty much go out to eat every night. Not like a super fancy restaurant, but at Urban Plates, at the one that you like. Because it's like unbelievable salads, unbelievable fruits and vegetables. So as the lady's handing it to me last night, she's like one of those ladies that doesn't understand social cues and social dynamics and so on, which it makes her awesome. And she's like, I'm sweating. Are you sweating? I was like, not sweating. And she's like, yeah, I'm fighting something right now. As she's handing me my food, I'm like, yeah. She's like, yeah, everybody's dropping like flies in here, but I refuse not to come in here. I'm like, oh my God, man.
That's pretty awesome.
It just rolls off her back, dude. So, we'll see where that goes for me.
God, that's so funny.
Yeah. Yeah, Ray's comment. Yeah. So yeah, man, how'd the week go?
Pretty good. I got, aside from yesterday, which was kind of annoying, I did get my writing done, got my podcast out like usual. And now I'm working right now with Lucas to kind of deal with some, I guess you could call it back end stuff with Matt and Shane's of like figuring out how to put it on our own website so we don't have to deal with all of YouTube's nonsense. And, so today I am just taking it easy, but I've been faithfully writing every single day, and I've been studying the piano as well, which is something I've learned I need. If I can play a musical instrument like 15 minutes a day, it boosts my mood significantly.
Yep.
So
I love it, dude. I feel the same way about dancing.
Yeah.
And guitar, I don't try to do 15 minutes. I try to touch it every day.
That makes sense.
Like even if that's my minimum threshold. Awesome. I have been writing every day as well and working on Ramas U every day as well. I haven't done it today though. I just woke up not too long ago trying to fight off this thing. I do want to share a goal with you guys just to keep me accountable, and also to provide some texture, because I wish somebody would have told me when I was, let's say, younger or in a similar journey. for some reason, a lot of guys, especially men, and especially men that I grew up with back east, they don't talk about money. Like they try to dance around the subject, and they might imply that they make a lot or whatever it is, but they never actually talk about the numbers. So I'd like to share numbers with you guys along the way. I made that decision like a couple weeks ago. I was like, why am I not sharing numbers? Because I had that my own internal belief, like, oh, it's weird to talk about. But I think some people are going to get turned off by it. But I do think there's a portion of men who will maybe get motivated by it, or at least motivated to share their numbers with other men, so it doesn't have to be as much of a secret. I just think the more light we can shine on something, the less shame there is in it, that whole like kind of quote. So my goal is to save $2,000 a week towards a future home. That's the goal. So we're now 2 weeks into, right? We're 2 weeks into, exactly 2 weeks into January. Let me see here. Net. So last week I saved $3,000 for it. And this week I made, where is it? So net numbers, $5,767.67. That's how much I made net. I saved $4,768 towards the house, and then I kept $1,000 just in my normal checking account. The reason I say all that is like that is almost an 83% savings rate, and that's not counting the checking amount. So chances are I'll save like 90% of that, if that makes sense. The only reason I say that is because, number one, like, money, in my opinion, one of the great things about money is it's just very black and white, right? Like, you have a goal, and it's very easy to see your progress towards that goal, if that makes sense. So I don't care if it's saving $20. It's like, okay, well, did you save $1 this week? Doesn't matter what the actual number is. The second thing is, when you look at the money that you've made, first of all, most people think in their head they make their pre-tax amount, which sounds crazy. Like it sounds so obvious, but I'm telling you, I have this conversation a lot with people, and they'll say, I make 100 grand. It's like, you do not make 100 grand. You make 70,000 or whatever that number is. So like, that's the first calibration, as obvious as that sounds. And it even happens with me. Anyway, then it's like, you take that net number after taxes, and then it's like, how much are you saving for that? Or let's even say you're in debt. Doesn't matter. Like, how much are you putting towards your debt? Right? How close are you getting to your goal every single week? It's very, very black and white. And then if you look at my savings rate, because I'm trying to be a leader for myself, for my family, and for anybody who wants to watch along the way, my savings rate is not 10%. Right? Like, as you just saw from that example, it's 83%, probably closer to 90%. Now, I know, and I was like, it wasn't too long ago where I couldn't do that, like anywhere close to that. It wasn't too long ago where I was in extreme debt trying to build the business, right? So like, no judgment along wherever you're at in that spectrum. But the point is resource allocation towards what your actual goal is. And oftentimes what we find with money allocation is it's not necessarily that we just have to spend money on these things. It's like, you didn't have to buy that sweater from Target, right? Like, I still go through these things in my mind. I was at Target last night, and I was looking, I was like, oh, I really like those pants. They're $32. I was like, but I already have pants, and then I moved on, right? So it doesn't matter. Like, I'm just sharing all those numbers because I think as men, we need to talk about it more. What are you making net? What are you saving percentage wise? What goal do you have to allocate those resources? And Ray and Delco Jim asked last week about budgeting. So we can always go down that road if you want to, but just a quick note on budgeting. Just psychology. Anytime with psychology, trying to get towards a goal, you increase the leverage, decrease the friction, right? Like, or like if it's a defensive goal, then you increase the friction, like that sort of thing. So,
it's like, as long as you have a system, it's like, that's the main thing for me. It's like, do you? And I just kind of neurotically save anyway. So I'm like, I just don't buy. Like, I've wanted to get a speaker now that probably costs $240. Like a really nice speaker that's like Bluetooth, almost like a sound bar, for a year and a half. I can't bring myself to do it. I'm like, I can't get it right now. But it's like, that's just, and I'm fine with that for now. But it's like, but I know people who have the opposite thing where it's like, I got this. It's coming. I'm going to get everything I need. That's always like been like, whoa, that's, I'm always like, that's crazy when people do that. But But I think
Yeah.
if you do say, all right, let me set up some form of system where it's like I'm going to start by saving, and again, if say you're making $400 or $500 a week, it's like my rent's, $600 or whatever it is, and it's like, all right, you take that out. It's like, can I just aim to save 20% starting off? Can I just go for 20?
Yep.
What would it look like? And dude, it's the same. I totally agree. It's one of those things where it's like, ooh, a shirt. It's wintertime. I think I need new shirts. It's like if I look in my closet, like I have I'm totally fine in all articles of clothing. So I did the same exact thing. I look and I go, yeah, that's nice, but it's like I have 3 pairs of jeans and 4 thermal shirts and a couple sweatshirts and socks and boxers. Like I literally don't need any of that stuff.
Yeah.
So
yeah, no, and to add on top of that, I have found that the bigger things actually move the needle the most, right? Like car payments, rent payments, or mortgage payments, because there is a tendency, like you got as us men go through this journey together, we have to be careful of doing the actual math. So Matt and I both know somebody who used to, he was one of my mentors, and I would kind of call him a semi-mentor to Matt. Matt has met him a few times. He used to pride himself off of driving a Jeep.
yeah,
Right? Like, I still drive a Jeep, man. It's like, and then he would take me out and some of our business peers to $3,000. Actually, the biggest dinner we ever went to cost $14,000. You do not have a right to claim your frugality because you buy a Jeep, and simultaneously you're buying $14,000 dinners, right? Like those are not congruent. So what obviously matters is the net number at the end. But I can say from my own personal experience, again, this is not formal financial advice. The big things, be careful of those. Like, oh, I'm going to get that car and it's only $800 a month or $500 a month in monthly payment. Or I'm going to go and rent. It's a little outside of my budget, but it's like, yeah, your budget was already high for you. And now you're going a little bit outside that. So now all of a sudden you're paying $2,000 a month in rent, right? Like right there, that's $2,500 a month. Now, if you can afford it, phenomenal. Like they're not hating on you at all. For me, my rent just increased to $900 a month. After utilities and everything, it's probably like $960 to $980 a month, right? So as you can kind of get a feel for the percentage of my rent, I don't have to live here. In fact, when Ray came here, he's like, what the fuck? What are you doing here? Right. But it's great. Like I've got a room. I love my stuff. Like it's super cost effective and I get to save a boatload of that. Every month I don't have to pony up $3,000 for rent.
Yeah.
I eventually might do that. Like I am getting the itch to so just so everybody knows, I've been doing this now for 10 years, actually probably 15 years. Like that's why Matt and I roomed together in college so that we could split our house rent.
Yep.
Or like we elected to literally have bunk beds together all of college, basically, so we could save money. So all of these types of things. I'm not saying any of this to brag or to sound like a douchebag. I'm saying it because like if you're in a situation, you can work it out.
Yeah, man. I mean, again, I think it comes down to like on a fundamental level, it's like, and this is something that I'm still disciplining myself around. It's like just implementing systems in your life in all those areas, and then having it so you can have a mindset so you can kind of withstand the kind of drudgery or kind of let go of the temptations that you usually just kind of mindlessly fulfill in those areas. So if I don't have a system for like money, if I'm not looking at it, I have no idea. I might be one or two things. I might be overly spending, or in my case, I'll like maybe need to make a certain investment to kind of level up business wise, but I'm like, no, because I'm just going by like the opposite side of that. Like I don't have enough. And in reality, that could hurt. That could kind of hurt people as well. Like say you own your own business and you're like, I can't buy like a legitimate work truck. It's like, well, did you even look to see if it's feasible financially? And it's like, nah, I'll wait, blah, blah, blah. So again, it's like, how can you just kind of separate it as much emotion as you can from all your money and say, all right, maybe the majority of people, if you bring up this conversation and they go, oh, must be nice, I don't have enough, must be blah, 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 blah. Okay, yeah, fine. Do you want to just sit in that kind of thing, or do you want to kind of make it so that's not the case for you? And it's like, that's, in my experience, it takes a concentrated, willful effort and a amount of change that most people are uncomfortable with making in order to kind of get yourself out of that, like common position of being like, oh, it must be nice. It's like, yeah, of course. But it's like, that seems to me the biggest thing. Can you have a system like, here's how much I make. I'm working on increasing it if I want to. I'm working on increasing it. But what I have now, I have figured out my life so that it actually makes sense rather than being like you were saying, Wes, like, it's a little out of my price range. But we're supposed to get a promotion in 6 months, and it's like, dude,
future dollars, bro.
What you call a house of cards. It's like, can you kind of soldier up? Can you save? But again, it all comes down to if you don't have anything in mind that you're doing it all for, then it's like, you're going to go right into the path of pleasure, right into spending all your money to kind of soothe yourself from all your little aches and pains. Otherwise, or that's the unconscious route. It's like, I don't know what I'm doing with my life. I don't want to think about it. I do make some money. I reflexively am trying to make more just because I know you're supposed to make more. And in the meantime, I spend a lot of money on alcohol. I buy clothes whenever I feel. I just satisfy my base level desires because it feels good, and I don't know what else to do with myself to make myself feel good. In my experience, if you have an actual goal you're going for, albeit a meaningful one, all of that stuff literally just goes and just poofs up in smoke, and it's like it doesn't have the pull it has.
Right.
And that's the direct thing that's leading people into the position to go, oh, it must be nice. It's like, well, let's spend a month in your shoes and see what you're up to,
Oh yeah. No, absolutely. And just as an example of this, I think one of the best excuse me. I think one of the best examples of this that we had on the team was Troy. When Troy was going out, and I think he was doing shoveling snow and all that kind of stuff. It doesn't matter what level of, like, the dollars, the numbers, like, doesn't matter. It's all a ratio relative to itself. So if you're trying to get out of $200 debt or $20,000 or $200,000 of debt, it's the same mechanics, right? Like, it's increasing the leverage on yourself psychologically. Why are you doing this? Like, would be a good way of increasing that leverage. And then number two, increasing the friction, right, of like spending, or decreasing the friction of saving. Super, super important. So again, it doesn't matter what number it is for you, just are you moving in the right direction?
Yeah, and the thing that I always think about too is like, I don't know if this is even a real term. I don't know if it's like, this is all theory, it somewhat, you know what I mean? It's not really, but it's like, what I mean to say is you can hear this stuff and go, yeah, this sounds good. I'm gonna do this. Okay, it's fine enough. But the real litmus test is like, it's Friday night, you're home by yourself, you don't really feel good about that. Mm-hmm. Do you have anything in mind where you can justify, kind of going through that negative experience? Like, if it's Friday night, you're by yourself. Oh, I feel lonely. I kind of feel like a loser. This is a bad feeling. Let me call my friends, and I'm going to go out and get drunk and blah, 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 because I don't like this feeling and I want it to go away. But again, if you have that, like, you feel the feeling, but then you're like, like the vision board stuff, or you're just kind of connected to like, yeah, but like at the end of this year, I'm going to be here in life, because if I'm going to save my money, I'm going to stop going out, stop drinking so much. You really do, again, I'm like repeating myself, but like you really need that thing to keep in mind, because you will hit a point where you go, this sucks, I don't like this at all. And then you just, business as usual, back to the usual bullshit that led you exactly to where you were in the first point. That's like stuff I have to tell myself all the time. It's like, this stuff sounds cool in theory, but you will hit that point, again, where you're like eating some bland food for the 10th day in a row, all those things that come up, and it's like, that's the exact price, in my opinion, that needs to be paid, of like being able to withstand those things over a sustained period of time, and then things start to change, and then it becomes a little easier to kind of abstain because you actually see the benefit. You don't see the benefit, you only see the downside of stuff. Like when you're being when you're saving money, when you're eating better, it's just like, well, I don't get to enjoy delicious food, and I don't get the buzz of buying new stuff, and something's changed anyway, so I might as well continue to do those things. Like, well, you only did them for like a week. So that's the thing. Like, how do you sustain yourself over 6 months? And it's like, you need to have a vision that's so meaningful that during that time you go, yeah, I know I'm feeling shitty, but like this thing does rule. I just have to wait a little longer.
Yeah. And dude, I think my hack to that is skill acquisition. I have found that skill acquisition is the biggest hedge on boredom and the biggest hedge on like non-fuckery with your finances. So for instance, like now I also understand that skill acquisition, you can spend a boatload of money on it, but let's just say you want to learn guitar, right? Like, I don't know, Matt, what does it cost for a good guitar? A couple $100, Or like, and most people
like
maybe even already have one.
Yeah, say like $500 for like a decent guitar.
Yeah, so let's just say that's the number. You spend $500, which obviously is on the pricier side for a lot of people. Mm-hmm. So then you go on Udemy or Coursera and you pay $10 for a guitar course. You could literally practice that for hours every single day for a year. So you're at $520 of expense for a full year of entertainment / skill acquisition, and you're increasing your status and value in the dating pool or in your peer group, whatever that is. Show me something that's a better return, right? Like a pair of pants at Target is not going to give me that return.
Yeah, that's a kind of an interesting filter for like activities. Like, am I pouring into a thing that's going to kind of grow something, or am I kind of just like, dumping toxins on my soil here? Because it's like, if you did that, it's like the supersize me. It's like the guy as a kind of point was like, I'm gonna eat McDonald's every day for a year. It's like there's no positive return on doing that. It was actually, that was the whole point of the documentary. It's like, I'm dying. I'm dying right now.
Yeah. Unless you're going to make a documentary and get some like pretty sweet like royalties.
True.
There's no benefit. There's no benefit other than that.
So it's like,
totally.
And that's another thing. Again, you can always put like a 90-10, 80-20 rule to like, and it's just about going through and consciously systematizing the things you do. Because again, if you're not like you were saying, Wes, if you think about it, well, what am I actually getting out? What am I getting out of drinking every Friday night? Nothing really. Liver damage. Right. Maybe I'm bonding with people, hanging out. Okay, fair enough. But it's like, if you just go through, if you take an honest appraisal, what do I actually spend my days doing? How much of these things, say I wake up every day, I stare at my phone for an hour, I kind of half-ass it at work for 8 hours a day, and then I come home and get drunk and go back on my phone and go on the internet, play video games, and go to sleep. It's not a judgmental thing. It's like, you can do that all you want. It's just like, and if you're happy with that, fantastic. But it's like, for most people, that will lead to an eventual reckoning where they go, what am I doing with my life? Yep. And rightfully so. It's like, yeah, dude, like, might want to do something else too. So it's like, it's not like I always hesitate because I don't want to come from I'm not coming from like a judgmental place. It's just one of those things of like, it genuinely is helpful. It's like, yeah, like eventually, and I know people who can genuinely do that every single day and they're happy as clams. And it's like, I've always kind of had like I've always been very interested in that, and I take like pleasure. I'm just like, man, that's like nice that you can do that. Otherwise, I'll go crazy. I'll torture myself, and I'll just, my mind will eat itself alive.
Yeah.
But it's like, it's easy to fall into that because it doesn't ask anything of you. It's like, yeah, I'm turning off the critical part of my brain by throwing in all these little things, but eventually, it will catch up. So this is a question I had for you, Wes. Yeah. And it's something I was kind of writing about and thinking about. Just in terms of like the idea of potential, because a lot of people get locked into their lives and they go like, oh, this is just how it is. You just work a job and, it's like, if you want a better job, you need to be like kind of connected. It won't come to me. Blah, blah, blah. Basically like, so say there's like the 10 things you do every day in terms of like what time you wake up, what do you eat, what time you go to sleep, what do you do for work, how do you treat people, blah, 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 blah. So say like potential is a circle like this, right? And right now, the way you're living is like, you're filling in like this much of a circle that's like this big, if that makes sense.
Yep.
So really it's like, the question I have is like, how do you tell whether or not you're, like in terms of like, if you were to see like, I think life has more in store for me if I did X, Y, and Z. What is a way to calibrate whether you're being like totally fantastical and like fantasy based or like unnecessarily kind of limiting yourself due to belief? Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so my personal experience with that, and then is that the entirety of the question?
Pretty much. It's like, how do you kind of work to expand your life experience in a way that's kind of realistic, and like, how do you, like, and it's kind of a strange question, but it's like, how much could you ask for without being like fantasy based, if that makes sense? Like, how do you go about kind of like pushing yourself out there? If you work at a place and you see there's a manager, the way I always worked is like, yeah, I'm not really like a manager type, that's not me. And it's like, yeah, think about it in terms of my potential. I could have been a manager if I wanted to. So it's like, how do you best recommend people kind of push out in terms of like where they currently are and kind of expand their lives?
Oh yeah, so this is going to be a terrible answer. So for me, in terms of like the realistic perimeter, I don't have that. Like in my like vision, like I fly. You know, it's like it's crazy. Like I'm doing, like you said, fantastical stuff. Like that's my vision. Like I want the biggest everything. Like I want the ultimate goals of all of the domains.
Hey dudes, sorry for the interruption here. Just wanted to let you know, if you want to join our pro team, go to romasteam.com/pro. You can help support the channel. You will also get access to exclusive content, masterminds, one-on-one sessions, etc. All right, back to the episode.
And somebody could certainly push back to me saying, "Oh, that's unrealistic," you know, because I do, like, just to be fully candid, like I want it all. Like when people tell me I can't have it all, I get fucking mad. Like in my head, I'm like, yeah, like you can't, but I will. Like that sort of a thing. Whether or not I ever will get there, I have no idea. But so the North Star for me is always fantastical. It's always and to be honest, dude, I always want it to be that. I am fine with dying on my deathbed saying I fell 50% short of my fantastical vision, but hell, this fucking 50%, like the alternative would have been me being, you know, an accountant or whatever, right? Now, I do think though, if somebody's gonna adopt that methodology, at some point there has to be a rational connecting tissue to that North Star goal, and that's where I think the bridge is. Yeah. Like, okay, I want to have the mansion on the hill, but okay, what am I doing today about that? I think for a lot of fantastical minded individuals, they never connect that. Like, I almost liken it to dating. I have talked to several people in the dating world who are like basically a fantastical vision, like, you know, my knight in shining armor will come. It's like, is he gonna break and enter into your house because you don't leave it, right? Like, is that where is that what's going to happen? There's no connective tissue to the North Star goal. You want to get married to that superhuman, but the superhuman is out there in the world, and you don't go out there in the world, right? So you've got to do something tangible. So I think for me, that's where the bridge is. So I want the mansion, and I'm going to save $2,000 a week for it, $3,000, and so on. That's the way that I can connect it. And then that judgment that you're referring to, like, I don't have that, right? So like, if I don't hit my 2,000, I don't fucking care. I don't get down. I might get a little angry. Like, it's like, I need to pick it up, but I don't feel a negative emotion outside of like slapping myself in the ass and like, let's do this thing. Like, yeah, you didn't hit it the last 25 weeks that you set the goal. In fact, you hit 0. But like, today's different, that sort of thing. Yeah.
Gotcha. No, that makes perfect sense. That's
how about yourself?
I think that's pretty much, that seems to be the thing where it's like, you know, my kind of model I use for that is like, just let reality be the thing that tells you whether or not it can work, rather than like, if I catch myself being like, that'll never happen, it's like, well, did I actually experience that, or am I telling myself that? And that's a big one. That's so you can surprise yourself infinitely of like what can actually occur. So it's just like, the thing I try to do is go, well, you know, is that something I'm just telling myself, or did I actually try it and I, you know, experienced X, Y, and Z that I can be like, oh, okay, yeah, maybe not so much that it can never happen, but if that were to happen, like you were saying, Wes, the kind of connective tissue for me to do that would be this, this, and this, and like, can I actually do these little things to lead possibly to that? It's like, that's the one thing I really, really, really kind of like to use of like, did my experience tell me this, or am I just saying this to myself for no reason other than, you know, usual anxieties or whatever?
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and I think people got to be careful there, because you can get stuck in, what do they call it, like the secret matrix, you know, that whole secret book and the secret movie. I think there's a portion that's like, hell yeah, like think about what you want, like, and constantly focus on it and so on, but then you actually have to follow up with an action. It's that following up with action that's really tricky, and it's like following up with the right action. So the mental model that I use for that always is, what would my competitor do if he wanted that North Star goal? And like, very quickly, it like comes to me then. It's like, oh, okay, like this is what he would do, because it's so weird. But if I create the plan myself and don't give myself that mental model, I'm always missing something. if that makes sense. Because like subconsciously I'm trying to like shortcut it. It's in some way, right? Like, you know, so for instance, like let's just say I want to go and compete in bodybuilding, right? Like, as an easy example. Well, if I were just creating the plan in myself, like it's like, oh, okay, I'll go to the gym for 30 minutes or 40 minutes, blah blah blah, whatever, right? But it's like, okay, what would my top competitor do? Well, he'd go for an hour. He'd had everything on point. Like if he wanted to beat me, this is what he would do. And then I just adopt that plan. Sounds super simple, and it sounds like it's the same thing, but for me, it's not. And then I ask myself, okay, my board of directors. So I have an imaginary board of directors in my head. Also, you know, sort of like my interesting psychology is coming out. You know, so
that is a form of therapy. Multi-family systems, yeah.
Fucking cool.
You have committee members.
Yeah, so like I walk in and like literally I've got Warren Buffett, Steve Jobs, like boom, 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 boom. Like there's like about 6 to 7 people in there. And then I I answer through them. As I go, Steve Jobs would say this, and you know, blah 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 would say this, and blah blah would say that. And that helps me figure out whether or not, like you, Matt, have taught me, am I moving towards or away my goal? What have all of my board of directors said? And what has my competitor said that he would do? And am I doing those things? Yes or no? And if I'm not, then I either don't really fucking want it, or I just need to recalibrate my action.
Exactly. No, that was kind of the point of the question, really, and I think you answered it well, was just like how to tell when you're unnecessarily limiting yourself in life, just because it's like it just kind of violates your, you know, social fabric of just like, yo, oh, who do you think you are? You know, that whole thing. Like, oh, who do you think you are? The big boss, whatever. So it's like that's
the hardest part, bro.
Yes, that it's a lot of it's mental, because it's like, you know, and it's the same exact thing you're saying, Wes. It's like, because you don't want to fall into the trap of like, you know, if you imagine it 10 times on a full moon and go to bed, it just magically manifests itself. I don't, you know, I hope that's true. I don't, you know, I have not experienced that. You know, sometimes things do happen, but I've learned that when you're making a consistent, habitual action of just effort every single day, then things start to kind of pop up and seem kind of synchronous. But the times in my life where I kind of wasn't really doing shit, I never really manifested anything out of nowhere. So it's like, yeah, man, it's like, can you organize your mind in a way where what once was the daily slog of just like, oh, I got to do it, it just becomes like, this feels meaningful. This doesn't seem like a slog because I know why I'm doing it, and the reason why I'm doing it is compelling. There's another thing too of like how to get your motivators so basic and fundamental that they're down to the almost like thoughtless portion of what motivates you, if that makes sense. Like, you know,
100% primal motivation.
Exactly. When people say the thing of like, you know, why do you want this? Why do you want this job? It's like, well, you know, if you're just sitting there, you go, you know, it'd be nice to have more money. It's like, well, why do you want more? You know, all the way down to like, you know, you say, well, I have kids and I want them to have a good life. That's the kind of stuff that pops you out of bed. And like abstractly thinking you want more money, you want to raise because you just want to see a different number on your check. It's not really that motivating when it's for like your parents, your mom, whatever. If you're like, I'm envisioning this person I love and care about, you don't have to articulate, well, why do you love her? It's like you just do. So like if you can kind of get that stuff down to that level and work from there, it just makes things, you don't need to sit all day and think and abstract. It's like, yeah, this is what I want to do because it's like an ingrained primal motivator and I don't even have to think about it. But it's real.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Well, that's why you set up the infrastructure like on a team. It's all of those subconscious motivators. Like when you're on a team, you don't want to not show up for practice. Why? You can't exactly articulate why if you haven't studied it, but it's like, we don't want to show up because that's your peer group. And if your peer group doesn't like you, they kick you out of the hierarchy. Like there's all that subconscious stuff. And Matt, you're spot on. Like you want to get to the level of that goal is that goal. I can't explain why, but I want a prince. Like I want a princess. I want that woman of my dreams. Why? I don't fucking know, because it's something in my DNA, but I'm going to get it, right? Like, or whatever that thing is for you. Completely agree. I think there's something else that the guys have to consider. All of us guys have to consider. It's like what game are you playing and the evolution of your game. Some of the stuff we talk about might be like you might be at the checkers level in certain areas of your life. Like I'm at the checkers level in certain areas of my life with guitar, let's just say. So you got to make sure you know what game you're playing and to adopt the philosophy and advice per that game. So you don't want to be playing checkers, but be taking advice about chess, where like you need to play your checkers, and then there's no skipping checkers, where like you have to go through the checkers. So if you're working right now and you're just starting working and you're making, $10 an hour, whatever the number is, right? Like you might, in the work game, you might be at the checkers game, but fucking enjoy that, right? Like learn all of the moves, learn the pieces. And if Troy doesn't mind me saying, like he was talking about, what's that? Was it DoorDash? Like if you're like, learn all the ins and outs of it, extract everything that you can, and then eventually you'll evolve to the next level, and eventually evolve to the next level. And again, I'm at checkers in like 5 areas of my life right now, but I want to enjoy that process and not try to skip to chess and then to 3-dimensional chess, right? Like all that kind of stuff. So like, because if you just skip the checkers and you go right to chess, you're going to miss out on a lot of the applicable things that you could have learned in checkers, and there's no way you're going to learn them in chess. You're just going to keep on getting your ass beat.
Yeah, I mean, dude, it's like, you talk about like checkers. It's mainly like, yeah, I have a job, I kind of hate it. Okay, this sucks on a bunch of levels, but like, how can I discipline myself to be in an environment I don't like and still not be totally devastated and be a negative force within this environment? Let me just play that game. I know this sucks.
Yep.
I know I could do a lot more, but for now, let me work on that. Otherwise, your other alternative is like, I need to bust a move and get out of here. Fair enough. If you say, I can't take it, I got to get out of here. Fair enough. It's that like middle ground of like, well, I'm going to stay here and just be miserable and complain. It's like,
yeah,
no, you can't do that. You can't. You can if you want. It's just, if you like to complain, I guess, then do it. But it's like,
yeah,
so many people
that's like
that, bro.
That's like just moving the checker pieces back and forth in the same fucking spots,
Exactly.
right? Like you're making no progress. You have to complete the game.
Yes. And yeah, exactly.
You absolutely have to.
Like you were saying, Wes, it's like, okay, you're in a situation you don't like. Yeah, move your pieces all the way to the other end of that situation, transcend the situation, go on to the next one, like rather than just kind of sliding back and forth. Like play the game. You're in a game, you're locked into your situation for better or for worse. Again, are you going to throw your hands up and complain about it, or are you going to get to the end of the board and go, oh my God, thank God that's over? I've had so many jobs that I've just been like, I think back on now, and I like very much remember being there all day and having no end to being there in sight, and it just torturing me mentally. But now I look back on that and it's like, nice. Like I made it through that. I passed through. I learned lessons about stuff while I was there. Thank God, that was the one, grace I had just naturally of like not falling into the crowd of anywhere I've ever been and just being like, oh, I guess I'll just, complain with these guys and cry about this. I was always like, I need to get the fuck out of here now.
Yeah. Yeah. What I would add to that is belief. And I even have it now, right? Like there is never a time where from my experience, where I've fully believed in myself ever. Mm-hmm. So if a guy is saying to himself right now, like, yeah, but like, that's just not me, or subconsciously you're saying that, I actually don't think it's required to have full belief in yourself to move forward, or even 10% belief in yourself. I think that's where you can go off of the belief of your team or your tribe. Like we are telling you, and I would tell Matt, and he would tell me the same thing. I promise you, dude, keep on moving your checker pieces around, keep on advancing, and I promise you will break through the ceiling. I promise you. You don't have to believe me for right now, but just temporarily suspend your disbelief and use my belief in you and just keep doing it. It is literally fucking binary. I promise you guys, right? Like if you're doing whatever right now and you just don't believe in yourself and that's causing you to act in the wrong way, just pretend like you did, or borrow our belief and just keep fucking doing it. And you will for sure find a week from now, 2 weeks from now, 3 months from now, whatever that is, that you are further along than you otherwise would have been. I promise you.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. And I always go back to thinking about like I've worked for a lot of different contractors, and there are, I'm sure this is corporations too, there are organizations that are headed by inherently, I would say, negative people. And like you could be positive, you could show up and work hard, and there will be organizations or companies you're in where people just go like, okay, like I'll just use this guy and make money off of him. So there is that way of like, but you can only determine if that's the case after working hard, positive attitude, all that stuff. If you do that for a while and you start being like, everyone around me is miserable, I need to get out of here, fair enough. But it's like you were saying, Wes, the majority of what I've seen is like, if you can find the right place. So if you're step one, obviously, is controlling your own energy, attitude, work ethic. Like, do you show up on time every day? Just like the basic stuff. That's the checkers. Do I show up on time? Do I have a positive attitude? Do I complain when people ask me to do stuff? Am I learning how to do the stuff I'm supposed to know how to do with, like, you know, a fervor and an ability to improve? Usually what I've seen is that's the rare individual within any organization who has a good attitude, is working hard, is trying to learn how to do the thing as best as they can. 8 times out of 10, that person gets kind of tapped. They go, hey, like, you know, we know, like, people notice that. People kind of higher up go, oh, this guy's not fucking rolling his eyes every time. You know, people notice that stuff, and that 8 out of 10 times gets rewarded. And if you're doing that for so long and you're like, everyone here is kind of like shitty, even like the above levels, just get out of that place. Just get out of there. That's, you know, it's a negative space. And most times I've seen the opposite, where you're working for a company, there's guys who are like showing up every day, they know what they're doing, blah, 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 good attitude, easy to get along with. It's like right through. But it's like, can you sustain yourself on that day that you don't feel good? You don't want to talk to anyone. Can you muster through that without at least not being negative? And it's like, this stuff all sounds well and fine, but the thing that matters is the day that you feel so shitty. It's like, do you have the, let's call it mental equipment to go, all right, I'm not feeling well. I notice that I'm not feeling. It's like, if you feel shitty, what happens if you're not, like, you know, like for me, I like to practice mindfulness and do all that stuff. Before I started practicing mindfulness, I feel shitty. My thoughts are going, and I have no distance or separation and go like, I'm thinking this. I'll just go, yeah, this person's fault. And I can't believe, like, you just, boom, you fall right into that. But when you're meditating, what happens now, I just go, I'm not feeling very well mentally today. And I recognize that. And I go, okay, that's something I'm dealing with. That's almost like a weather pattern. It's nobody's fault. It's nobody's this. It's just a thing that's occurring in this present moment. Fair enough. What do I got to do today? Why am I doing it? Okay, let's do that. And, like, I'm able to, even when I'm feeling bad, just go like, well, I don't react to that, and I don't let that dictate my behaviors, you know, at least 90% of the time. Do I slip up? Of course. But it's like, it's not like, that's not the thing that's dictating how I react and carry myself.
Right.
Anywhere as near as it was before. So it's like, that's the real test. Do you have stuff in place for them when the days you're feeling shitty? Can you push through those days? Because they're just temporary. There's no reason to let those things define your life. They're temporary. It'll pass. But it's like, you need it. Like you were saying, Wes, you got to have faith in something, man. You got to have faith in a higher thing. Dude, when I got COVID, it's so easy. You read this stuff, so easy to fall in, like, maybe I'm one of, like, the 1% of people who get it forever and slowly get debilitated. It's like, maybe, but it's like, you know, that's where my mind goes naturally. I'll start to bug out. But in my head, I go, no, I'm going to assume that's not the case until proven otherwise. And it's like, you know, just little shit like that. And it's like, you know, even when I was, like, last night, had a fever, kind of a bummer. I've been feeling better and better. Then you have a fever. And it's like, I could easily go, like, so unfair, it's fucking what? Just like, yeah, man, I'm getting better. This fever is killing stuff in my body, whatever it needs to kill. I was like sitting there last night, grateful for my fever, being like, I'm glad my body's heating up. Another weird thing too is just about fevers. They used to use, I don't know if I've talked about this on here before, but there's certain types of, they found back in the day, it was a lot of the cancer treatments immunosuppressive, so they kind of like turn down your immune system so they can get in there. I don't know exactly how it works. But what they also found is there was people who would get fevers from like weird immunizations, like live virus, like cholera and whatever it was, and they would develop a fever after the shot. And these are people with tumors, and they would get a fever, and then their tumor would shrink. So they started inducing fevers in people. Yeah. What happens is it jumpstarts your immune system, and they're like, oh shit, there's cancer cells, there's tumors in here, and like just the fact you had a fever, like they would just bring them up in people over and over. It would just kill tumors. So, you know, I choose to think about stuff like that. I have a fever in my head. I go, my immune system's beating the fuck out of something right now. Nice. You know, just lay there and, you know, sweat for a little.
No. Sorry, dude. Keep on coughing. I 100% agree. Do you use any tools to recalibrate your thoughts? Like other than meditating, is there anything else you do? Like I look at a vision board, I'll watch certain movies.
Yeah, for me, the thing I've tried pretty much everything. The thing that's most compelling for me, and this, you know, this is a thing I understand is not for everybody, is having some sort of deeply held spiritual beliefs. Of me being like, you know, limited, knowing what's outside of my control, and being able to be like something like there's levels to things that I experience that are totally outside my locus of control, and I choose to think that there's a greater intelligence that has some sort of plan, and that relaxes my body. It's like I might not like it. I understand. I kind of act like, I act with it. Whatever's in my locus of control, I do everything I can. But stuff like, again, getting sick, I'm going to do everything within my locus of control. But that 1% of my mind that goes like, but what if this happened? I just go, that's not for me. That's not for me to decide. And it just calms me down like tremendously. So that's for me. And dude, I've tried everything. I'm like, this is the most useful thing in terms of calming myself down or hitting those times. Like I used to get panic attacks all the time. Like getting on the edge of like experiencing panic, this and that. That's the most useful thing of like, I'm having like a very bad day. I'm having intense anxiety. That's the one thing I've noticed like really can take the edge off of and it's not like a trick or anything. It's just like accepting the fact like there's nothing I can do about this. And
your spiritual answer is way better than mine. I watched the movie 300.
No, the thing I say is whatever works for people. You know what I mean? Like it doesn't matter. It doesn't like, that's all. It's like it's just finding what works for you. And someone can easily say, oh, that's all bullshit. You believe in that? It's like, yeah, it works. It functionally works, and I like it. I like to inhabit a universe that's guided by an overarching intelligence that's greater than mine. Is it real? I don't fucking know, but it feels really good to believe that. So.
Right, it's effective for you. Yeah,
it's effective. So it's like, and that took a lot of, and I used to fight that off. Really, I'd be like, I don't like that kind of stuff because I didn't. But undeniably, I'd have to say it's a useful thing. It helps a lot. Also, people who are religious tend to live 7 years longer than non-religious people. So.
Oh yeah, no, I for sure am not going to live a long time.
I'm kidding. Although they did find that people who were vehemently atheist lived longer than people who were loosely spiritual, who didn't really believe in any one thing. So there's that.
Yeah, I'm very likely going to die, not from like, let's say, lack of spiritual belief, but like some sort of competition, like somewhere along the line, because I know it's going to escalate itself, right? Like, oh, I bet you I can jump over that like cliff and reach the other side, and like it's going to be something, like for sure going to be something stupid. Yeah, your spiritual is way better than mine. Like literally what I do is I watch a movie of an archetypal man who I would like want to emulate, which the repercussion of that is like I walk around for like a full week acting like King Leonidas, like choose your words carefully, Spartan.
I do the same thing. Anything I watch, I embody a character of it. For if I read something, same thing for like 3 weeks in my head. I'm like filtering everything through. I do it constantly.
For me, man, it's a thing. Like it's a real thing. Like I'll watch Billions or I watch 300 multiple times a year. I literally have it on my calendar. Minimum, like a calendar entry every single year to watch it. That helps me snap out of or reminds me of like I'm not playing the game big enough.
Yeah,
and like even I was watching Billions last night, right? And the stairs in the background of that frame, they're like high-end stairs. I was like, I've never had stairs like that. Like my apartment didn't have stairs like that. I was like, I want those stairs. Like it's just crazy. So like Troy's kind of, a few comments ago was saying like he's kind of in it right now. He's going through, he's in the belly of the beast. That's what at least I'm picking up on. It's like, Troy, fucking like enjoy this time. You will look back on this time 10 years from now. If you didn't have such texture to your story or such struggle to your story, the story would not be good 10 years from now. Like you're building that story. So like, keep on fucking working hard. Take whatever Matt's saying, take whatever I'm saying, take whatever the dogs are saying. Like, keep on fucking building it, dude. Like, you need that shit. And regardless of whether or not you actually believe it, just keep fucking going.
Yeah, it's true. There's that old saying, like, it's hard. People don't exactly understand. Like, the things people think are good for them sometimes are bad, and sometimes things people think are bad for them are actually good. And it's like, dude, when I was like 23, and I used to get like, that was when I had anxiety really badly. I look back on that now, and I'm like, thank God I started getting anxiety around then, because the way I was living was fucking insane. So it's like, that was my body or whatever just being like, yo, what the fuck are you up to? And it's like, after I experienced that, I would say, without a doubt, as the years went by and the kind of path of information that led me on to kind of like fix myself back up, because it's just like my whole fucking body and brain was just broken. And it's like horrible at the time. But in my head, I always look back on that. I'm like, thank God that fucking happened. because I was an absolute fucking animal, and I needed someone to just like put me underwater for like 5 seconds and be like, fucking, what are you doing? Yeah. So it's like, yeah, man, these negative experiences, man, it's like they seem bad, but like what I always think about too is like, you know, we're all going to die. We're all going to be dying at some point, and we're going to have to really deal with the fact that we're dying. And that's like, we try not to think about it, obviously, because it's a pretty horrible thing to think about. But it's like, how is it possible that I can live in a way, or I can be mentally organized or arranged in a way that when I actually do die, I'm not, you know, obviously I'm not pumped fully on it, but in my head, I'm not just like clawing the edge of a, you know, metal guardrail in a hospital bed, like, no, like I can go out with dignity and respect and say, it's unfortunate, but I did all that I could, and I made the most of the situation. That's my like real overarching mental model. I think about that constantly. It's like, am I going to be able to die in a way where I say, I did everything I wanted to do, you know, like it sucks, but you know, it's something I like to think about a lot, because it instantly puts everything in perspective. What are you worried about? Okay, would that matter to you if you were dying? And it's like, I know it's almost kind of a cop out. It's like, well, I'm not dying, blah blah blah. But I find it slightly useful to kind of add that in the repertoire every now and again. Yeah,
well, Matt got me this little skull as a gift last year, and I literally have that. It's like a little crystal or porcelain skull type of deal. I literally put that. I look at it every single day when I wake up and when I go to bed. I put that on top of my vision board, right next to my bed. So it's like this nice contrast of like, that's my vision. Oh yeah, I'm gonna be dead. I might as well get this vision done in the meantime, like in that middle part. So it's a constant reminder. Yeah. So thank you again for that gift, bro.
Oh, dude, of course, man. Thank you for the pen. You just gave me a pen. But yeah, dude, that's something I think about a lot. Like all that stuff, people, like the ancient stuff of like ancestor, like thinking about your ancestors and thinking about like what your ancestors will think of you. Like all that stuff helps zoom everything out into perspective. And it's like, you know, usually it just kind of comes down to the fundamentals. Like, you know, am I doing what I should be doing for my family? Am I doing what I should be doing for myself? And am I caught up in like the bullshit of my time, or am I trying to like transcend everything and, you know, just do something that someone who came after me would be like, man, that was cool. That guy did that. You know?
Yeah, I love it, dude. Cool. What's going on for the weekend? Anything?
No, man.
And guys, please share your wins throughout the week.
Yes.
Matt and I share our wins. Please share your wins.
Yeah. I mean, the weekend, no, man, I'm just going to kind of, my main focus right now is like getting myself 100% healthy. It's like, I still feel the lingering effects of COVID, and like I think honestly too, I had like Delta, and then I maybe got like Omicron too. I don't know what the fuck happened, because I started feeling better, got a fever last night, and it's just like, you know, it's been very strange. So right now that's like my top priority of like getting back to 100%, and in the meantime just every day writing every single day, and you know, kind of setting myself up for the next couple of years. So
love it.
So I've been
get
good.
Back to full health, bro. Like, and that might be a good call to action for all the men. If your battery's not fully charged, you know, maybe take it on of like fully recharging your fucking battery this weekend.
Yeah.
You know, and that'd be rest or yoga, stretching, get a massage, drink a massive fucking green drink, whatever. Like, you know, give yourself the nutrients you need. Meditate, whatever that fucking means, man. Like, do it. I think probably a lot of us men need to hear that right now, especially a lot of us are just coming out of a cold or something like that. So it's like totally reset your battery. Otherwise, if you don't, you're just going to be taking 80% of an already only 80% battery, and then the next week it's the same thing.
Yeah, man. No, absolutely. That's like, I used to really push myself and be like, work comes first. And now I'm getting to a point where I'm like, rest comes first, and actually applying it. I'm still, you know, I still have, not perfect in this domain, but it's something I'm like, you know, I'm really trying to kind of get up. So yeah, so I'm trying to do the health stuff, and it sucks too, because like I feel sick, so I can't exercise. So it's like, how do you, you know? So.
Oh yeah, meditative moment, bro.
Exactly. So that's kind of the focus. But yeah, this week's been going great. And again, I have to say that there's no way I would have been writing as much if I hadn't, you know, if it's not for this. It's like, it just keeps me focused to do everything every day.
Fucking right, man. Like we said in the beginning, the part of the goal of this group should be for it to be boring. Right, like it's a good thing, you know. It's like checking in every single, like multiple times a week. It's not sexy, right? It's just fucking not. And there's going to be times where we battle in our heads, like, oh, is this a good use of time? Like, oh, what should I do this? Like, blah blah blah. It's like, dude, suspend your disbelief. Give it 6 months. Give it 3 months. Give it a year. And all of a sudden, you look back, you're like, fuck. Like actually having conversations about my progress or lack thereof helps me make more progress. There is no getting around it. Like all of us men, we're human. That's how humans work. Period.
Absolutely.
And I got to give a shout out to Gunther because I'm just seeing that he's got his win set up a sauna. That's fucking legit.
That's
I'm sorry, Gibbons. Set up a sauna, and he's setting up a cold plunge. Dude, that's like I'm gonna put that on my vision board.
Yeah,
cold plunge especially.
That would be sick. But yeah, dude,
Yeah.
I think so I say next week we should get back into checking. I would love to check in with people, man, and just like I said, just help us calibrate everything. But that's really the goal, to keep people sustained through the kind of slog of getting yourself to a better place, because it's genuinely not fun at times, man. It sucks. It's better. It's always fun to go out and fuck around and do all this other stuff. But I will say, like, once you get a taste of like things kind of changing in your favor, the motivation becomes way easier. So this really is, I think, it's just like a launching pad for people to kind of put themselves up to whatever their next level is.
Yeah. Oh, I want to throw something out there. So this past week, I'm not going to say his name because he's still thinking through whether or not he wants to give me permission to share it with the guys. Like, so we did. I don't want to say. I hate even saying this. Like, we did. He asked if he can have some of my time and we could chat about some of his relationship stuff. He's on the Ramas team. So I'd like to open it up to the group, and Matt, I think, wants to do something similar in the future. If anybody wants to chat with me, Matt, I don't want to give your time up, but if you want to do the same,
sure.
If anybody wants to chat with me, I'm going to open up an hour a week-ish. If you want to have a chat with me, my only ask is that if you want to chat with me for whatever it's worth, like pick my brain on anything, or just want like a brainstorming session, let me know, shoot me an email, and we can schedule that time. My only ask in return is that you let Matt and I post it to the group. So what we did for this individual that I did last week, we gave him a nickname, which was called Mr. X. So it protected his identity. We did not do video either. We just did audio. So if any of you guys are down for that, if you want any sort of like back and forth, like specifically on your situation about a thing or two, doesn't matter what the hell it is, you just want to talk it out. I just know that I'm allocating 1 hour to 2 hours per week to do that. So you can shoot me an email, wes@ramas.com, and we can go from there if you want to take advantage of it. The only price that I ask is that you let us post it to the group so the other guys can get value out of it. So does that make sense, Matt? Was that clear?
That makes perfect sense. So hell yeah.
Cool. Yeah, wes@ramas.com. Yep, just shoot me an email there, or shoot me a message on Discord, and we can kind of go from there.
Great idea. No, I think that's a fantastic idea.
Yeah.
All right, brother.
Awesome, dude. Well, you guys have an awesome fucking week, and we'll kill it. All right, buddy.
All right, man. See you, dude.